All right, peace. I am hoping, and it is my will, that you can hear me clearly on this live because this device, the last two devices I've been using and speaking on weren't the sound quality wasn't good. So oftentimes when I was having conversations over the phone or if I was speaking online or doing a broadcast or presentation, the quality of the sound was pretty horrible. That was with the iPhone and the Android. So if anybody's listening to this, could they please type inside the chat that they can hear me? I have this on YouTube and I have it on my Facebook page as well. I'm trying to update it on my iPhone, but this is moving slow. My signal is kind of weak where I'm at the moment. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm going to get right on to it for those who are actually able to hear me. If you can't hear me, then obviously I'm going to do this over. Oh, wow, all these notifications coming in. The subject that I wanted to touch here is the proper way of handling information. I'm going to make this one real short because I'm going to have to go back and see the quality of it. I don't want to go on a whole 10 plus minutes rambling, and then when I go back to listen to it, just to realize that nothing that was said was audible. So I'm going to make this one real quick. Okay. The first thing that I want to state. Okay. I got to learn how to ignore these notifications. But anyway, so the very first thing that I want to state is I'm going to quote from two posts of mine. And basically, many conscious or quote unquote woke people generally take pride in their past questioning of what they were taught in church. This is quite common amongst the conscious or the quote unquote woke. They'll ask for proof that verifies the existence of characters in the Bible. They'll accuse religious people, or even Quran. They'll accuse religious people of believing in narratives without evidence or verification. Then they'll accuse those same people of getting in their feelings and responding rhetorically and emotionally due to not being able to produce such verification. At the same time, the average conscious or woke person believes that he himself or she herself is a descendant of slaves who were brought to the United States on slave ships. Yet, when asked for proof that verifies what he himself or she herself is a descendant of slaves that were brought over here on slave ships, they cannot provide the name of one verified ancestor of theirs who came over on a slave ship, along with the verified name of the specific slave ship that that particular ancestor was said to have been brought over on. They'll then get in their feelings and respond rhetorically and emotionally due to not being able to produce such verification, along with excuses as to why there are no verifying documents. The religious people they often criticize are exactly what they've become themselves. Belief in anything without actual verification is just that, belief. Doesn't matter how strong your belief is. If there's no verification, it's belief. This doesn't mean it's false. It just means that it's just belief. There's nothing that you can use to verify it yet. There's no information that you can use to verify it, to confirm it, or rebut it. It's just a belief. Belief in and of itself, belief in anything without verification is just that, it's belief. But you cannot justifiably criticize people for being believers in a thing without verification while being a believer in a thing without verification yourselves. You're knocking people for doing the exact same thing that you're doing, and that's hypocritical. I'm talking about the conscious, the woke, or the Muslims, or the gods, or whoever that mainly get at particularly our Christian family, and even some of our Muslim, just religious family in general, for believing, quote unquote, in things that they can't prove tangibly. They're doing the same thing. Selective critical thinking, listen carefully. Selective critical thinking is not critical thinking at all. For a person to truly be a critical thinker, they have to question and challenge everything, not just what they don't agree with. The energy has to be leveled across the board. We have to question and challenge everything given to us to accept as truth, even if it comes from love and trusted sources. Verification trumps trust or belief. See, in the world that Allah's manifesting, or Allah's world manifests, the black man, the upright black man with knowledge of self. I have to say this carefully. The truthful, truthful, upright black being is God in Allah's world manifests. You know what I'm saying? Not something in the sky, not a white, fairy tale. In the world realm of science, in the mathematical, historical, geographical, geological, scientific, whatever anthropological universe, the original man, there's nothing higher than man in the real world. I'm talking about the real tangible world that you can feel, and nothing higher than the original man, the original, AKA a so-called black man, the upright, truthful, original man with a thorough knowledge of self is the supreme being, or the God of Allah's world manifest. I have to state that clearly. I know that the messenger said every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God. But this is just me. You can take it or leave it. In my realm, I have to add some context to that, because you have to define, okay, what is man now? If you're going to say every time you look at a black man, you're looking at God, well, now we have to define man and be specifically clear on what man is. Because if you're looking at the swine eating the homosexual snitch or rat, he's clearly not being supreme, so he is not the supreme being. He's not God. Anyway, let me get back on to what I'm saying. Or if you're looking at the one that's in his feelings all the time and just making excuses, just a lazy, out of shape bum, that's not God. Or the liar or the thief or the child molester, that's not God. Now you have the freedom to agree with me or disagree with me on this. You know what I'm saying? God in this context, I mean, is supreme being, and supreme being in this context, what I mean is one that is being supreme. Anyway, continuing on. As I stated earlier, verification trumps trust or belief. There is nothing wrong with being a believer in a thing without verification in and of itself. Belief is a natural part of the human psyche or psyche. Some things, although not proven, are within sound logic and reason to believe until evidence is presented that either converts that belief into a fact or dispels it as a falsehood. Absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. And lack of evidence doesn't automatically make a belief false. It just makes it a belief until it's verified with actual facts. Therefore, simply say, I believe. That's all. Humble yourselves. It doesn't hurt to say, I believe. You know, some of us get a little knowledge and we get so arrogant. No, I know ABC. How do you know this? If you're saying you know this, and this means you can verify it. Okay, so where is the actual information to prove this? I'm going to tell you now the reason why you haven't seen, and probably likely will never see, quote unquote reparations case, particularly put forth by these modern current slate of or past actual facts. They're not dealing with actual facts. They're dealing with rhetoric, emotionally charged rhetoric. You're not going to, our prophet, our messenger, message to the black man said, that's not going to hold in the court of law. Grandmama told me, when my grandma said, no, that's not going to hold in the court of law. Well, Alex Haley and Root said, no, that's not going to hold in a court of law. There's a difference between proof, verifying proof, versus testimony. Testimony is just a person's account. That's how they see it from their perspective. It's not proof in and of itself, although it can be supportive of evidence, but testimony is not conclusive evidence, because one person can give one testimony and somebody else can give a contradicting testimony, and both of them could have saw the same thing, but just from two different angles. Or one person could be just outright lying. So testimony or accounts is not proof. When we speak about verification, we're talking about how do you authenticate, how do you verify something to the point where it's no longer a question or a matter of if, it is. So this is what happens when we become emotionally involved with and or develop emotional attachments to information or to an idea. When questions arise that challenge the information or idea that we've developed an emotional attachment to, or if instead of responding objectively, which is to yield to the truth, we'll respond defensively. We can make ourselves into enemies of the truth. And there has never been a victorious enemy against the truth, and there will never be a victorious enemy against the truth. This is not the proper way to respond to information. Depending on where and how you've gotten knowledge of self, actual facts are given to us first. Information is meant for gods to scrutinize and put to the test, not to become emotionally attached to. We tend to develop emotional attachments to ideas due to the love we have for the source, but this is not good. It's okay to have beliefs. However, gods, we're talking supreme natural beings, not mystical beings, supreme beings. In other words, being supreme, your best self. Gods are to treat beliefs facts only. This is what has to be understood. Now, what's really important, what's important that needs to be gotten across is, brothers, you have to read carefully. When you are reading articles, when you're reading posts, when you're reading opinions, when you're reading views or statements, positions, whatever, you have to read carefully and respond to what is actually being said by the person if you're going to respond, and not react to what you looked at or skimmed through made you feel. Those are two different things. Responding to what is actually said versus reacting to what you thought was said or what you thought was said made you feel. That's not being supreme. Being supreme when we're responding to a post or a view is to read each word for word, not add our own words to it. Because in the post that I made earlier, where I stated clearly that I was looking for verification of the name of a verified ancestor that was brought over on an actual slave ship with the verification that proves it. That he was brought over on that specific slave ship, not just Grandmama told me Kunta Kinte was brought over when Nina seen the slave ship Jesus. No. I don't care what Grandma said. Well, wait. Let me not say I don't care what Grandma said. Does Grandma have proof? Can Grandma verify this with information? Can she lead you to a source, maybe some documents somewhere that she either has or that the state either has or somewhere that can authenticate this? No. So Grandma's just talking. This doesn't mean she's lying. Doesn't mean she's telling the truth. She's just talking. And if you accept it without verifying it, then it's a belief. I don't care who it comes from. So y'all can criticize the pastor, and understandably so, and rightfully so. And you can scrutinize him, but you won't scrutinize Grandma for doing the same thing. The pastor could tell you about a person that you want to argue about whether they existed 2,000 years ago. A pastor could tell you about Jesus, and you can say, where's proof of Jesus? Oh, the Bible's blah, blah, blah. right? And you'll question the pastor because you see no proof of Jesus, right? Right? Or no authentic documents. But then grandma will tell you the same thing. Oh, Kunta Kinte is your great, 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 great grandfather. And you'll run with it. Or grandma will tell you your great, 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 great grandfather was some Mohawk chief Cherokee Indian or great, great grandmother. And you'll run with it. Now, if you notice, I have not taken a side. I have not taken the side of the indigenous people that say that all black people here in the West or the vast, vast majority are indigenous, nor and that there were no black people brought over from the African continent to serve as slaves. I never made that statement, nor did I make the statement that all black people here in the West are here as a result of the slave trade, and that there were none prior to 1555 or 1619, whichever you choose to go by. I didn't make that argument either. To me, both arguments on both extremes are incorrect. There has to be someplace in the middle because there's information, verifiable documentation out there that supports that there were blacks brought over from different parts of the world, particularly the West African continent, as well as that supports that there were so-called black people here in the Western Hemisphere long before Columbus, So not everybody shares, or not all black people here in the Western Hemisphere come from any one monolithic perspective. To me, both sides are extreme and incorrect. This is why we have to be objective. A place of facts, not a place of feelings, because this is not just that pro-Africa or back to Africa, the Pan-Africans that do this. You have a lot of the indigenous that do this too. They become emotionally attached to information to the point where if new information is presented that challenges or even proves false some of what they hold, have gotten emotionally involved with, the first thing you want to do is get angry and try to belittle the truth or the truth bearer. We don't deal that way. That's not being supreme. So read carefully, respond to what is being said. On the post that I made, there was never the claim that slavery never existed. You won't be able to find or copy or paste that anywhere inside the post. What was stated was that I questioned the mainstream narrative of what they said slavery was. Do you know what the mainstream narrative is? You should question that. Question and even doubt it. And this is based on my own research. So yes, when we study information, I know sometimes it's difficult to not become emotionally attached to information, especially if it makes you feel good or feel bad or feel angry. As men, we have to get out of our emotions. The minute we get some information that makes us feel good or feel bad or feel angry, it bonds to us because it's attached to our emotions. That's the matriarchal right hemisphere, right brain side of us, the feminine side of us that we had to get under control. You know what I'm saying? The messenger said that the black man won't get anywhere, I'm paraphrasing, unless he controls his woman. Let's take that internally. You, the original man, won't get anywhere until you learn how to control your emotions, your impulse side. That's the woman in you. Not saying you have a woman in you, but you know what I mean. That's the feminine side, the masculine side over you, the masculine side of you, which is the side that deals with truth, logic, mathematics, reason, objectivity. That has to get control of the effeminate side of you, which is emotions, feelings, impulses, ideals, lusts, all of these things. This is how you gain self-control and self-mastery. We have to get control of our impulses, brothers. That's the only way you're going to be supreme. Peace.